What do butterflies, this necklace, and the World Cup of 2014 have in common? Let's start with the necklace. It's an ordinary necklace. Actually, it's not that ordinary. It has a story. But it's also just a necklace. I'm going to do a small experiment, if I might, with a few random individuals. Those of you who are up close or on the live stream will be able to see better. I'm going to hold the necklace over Lenora's head. I'm going to try to be steady because I'm a little nervous. Let's see. Hold on. Steady the neck. So those of you who are up close can see it's making big circles over her head. Now you might think that's the rotation of the Earth, but if I move it off to the side, it stops. I could try it on anyone. You can try it at home. With any necklace that has a weight at the end. Butterflies. Each spring, monarch butterflies complete an annual migration from central Mexico to southern Canada. It takes 4 generations to complete this journey. The 4th generation is born in the northernmost end of the migration in Canada or the northern United States. This one will be a super monarch, living 8 times longer than any of the others. In the late summer and early fall, this one must begin a journey back to home, a journey of up to 3,000 miles. Home is one of a few mountaintops hidden in the central highlands of Mexico. It will make the whole journey from Canada to Mexico, to the forests and the highlands of central Mexico, to a place it has never seen before. This massive movement of butterflies has been called one of the most stupendous phenomena of the natural world. So many butterflies, hundreds of thousands, will end up clustered on the branches of the sacred fir trees that the branches are weighted heavy to the ground. The World Cup of 2014. A paralyzed teenager wearing a mind-controlled exoskeleton kicked the ceremonial first ball at the World Cup in Brazil in June of 2014. Wireless electrodes attached to the head collected brain waves, then signaled the suit to move. Thoughts are translated into electrical signals. When David and I were pregnant with their 3rd child, David's parents were traveling throughout India. March 9th, weeks off from the due date we had given his parents before they left. Halfway across the globe, David's mother was touring some ancient Indian ruins. She turned to her guide and said, "Get me to a telephone. My children are having a baby." The nearest telephone was several miles away in a post office. After the guide explained the circumstances, the long line of people waiting to place a call cleared so that my mother-in-law could use the phone. Yaron had been born 5 minutes before. David had called home from the hospital to a waiting family who was now already piled into the station wagon to see the new baby. David's sister was locking up the front door when the phone rang. She picked up the phone and heard her mother's voice and screamed, knowing why she had called. Her mother heard the scream and she screamed, and everyone in the post office in India burst into applause. My mother-in-law said later that she had felt the contractions. Something is moving the necklace over my head. Something makes it possible for a monarch butterfly to navigate thousands of miles to a mountaintop home it has never seen. A paralyzed teen can think, right foot, move back. And those thoughts can be translated into movement, and a piece of fabric separate from him. Something is felt at the same moment, halfway around the world. Our world, this world, is animated by so much that we do not see. You already know that. You know that dogs hear sounds we cannot hear. Bees see colors outside our visible spectrum. Elephants know when a tsunami is about to happen. Our emotional energy affects our bodies. We have gut feelings. People can die of a broken heart. Yet we still think that what we see is all there is. I'll believe it when I see it, we say. And what do we see? We look at one another or at ourselves in the mirror. If you change the style of clothes you wear, are you still you? If you change the length or color of your hair, are you still you? Of course. If you break your arm or your leg, are you still you? You is not dependent on the color of your eyes or skin or hair. There is a you. There is a real you that we summons on this Yom Kippur day. The mystics of Jewish tradition have something to say about that you within. They open their teaching with this text from the Torah story of the creation of man and woman. The man called his wife Eve, Chava, for she would be the mother of all the living. And God Eternal made clothing for Adam and Eve. The Eternal made them out of skin. It's a story of tenderness. God fashioning clothing for these creatures. But what was the clothing made of? Skin? What kind of skin? The Hebrew for skin or leather is or, with the letter ayin. The mystics read the story symbolically and deeply. The story, they suggest, is that God added skin, actual human skin, to human creatures. And what could we have possibly been before God added skin to cover our bodies? The mystics say before that, we were creatures of another or. We were creatures of light. We know today that light is a form of energy. We know that light, energy, and matter are all made of the same stuff, different forms of the energy that makes up our universe. When we look at one another, we see the clothing, the hair, the skin, but there is more. We are also creatures of energy. Perhaps the spinning necklace has something to do with that energy. Light, that for most of us is slightly outside the visible spectrum. It was Yom Kippur afternoon almost 50 years ago. David and I were graduate students in Berkeley, California, and had accepted a last-minute high-holiday job in a small synagogue in Studio City that was unexpectedly without rabbi or cantor. We were neither, but they were desperate. Services recessed in the afternoon for everyone to take a break before resuming with Yizkor and Ne'ilah as we do. David and I were exhausted. We had been used to being on the receiving end of what Yom Kippur had to offer. We had only been giving, and we were in serious need of replenishment. We decided to go on a short walk in the neighborhood. Those who know me well know that I have a horrible sense of direction. Twice in my life, however, being in a new or foreign place, I have known exactly where to go. This was one of those times. We come to a corner, and I said to David, "We must go left down this street." He looked at me sort of strangely, but okay, let's go down this street. It was the San Fernando Valley, more ordinary than ordinary. Small houses, all looking the same, one after the other. Small plots of grass, evenly squared off. Concrete driveways separating the plots. We're halfway down the block when all of a sudden we hear someone screaming at us. We spin around, and there was a man standing in front of his house, yelling at us. He was overweight, unshaven, wearing a tank top undershirt, and yelling at us. I'm thinking, did we step on his lawn by mistake? Should we start running? But it seemed that running away would be a mistake, so we walked toward him. He walked up to David and barked, "Do you know the blessing for tefillin?" David was so shocked he couldn't speak. Unusual. It was me, standing safely off to the side, who could speak and recite the blessing. "Come in," he said, "and show it to me." We walked into his small house. It was dark. All the curtains were drawn. "My father just died," he said. "He died in New York. During World War II, he wrote affidavits for hundreds of people he didn't know. There were thousands of people at his funeral. This is what he left me." And he took out a tallis bag, a set of tefillin, and a high holiday siddur, a machzor. He handed me the machzor and said, "Show me the prayer for tefillin." "It won't be in this prayer book," I said. "I did not explain that tefillin are not worn on Yom Kippur." "Then help me put them on," he said. And we did. "We're conducting services around the corner," we told him. "You're welcome to come with us." But no, he wasn't interested. We left him there in his darkened room, standing in his undershirt, wrapped in his father's talit and tefillin on this most holy of days. "All journeys," wrote Martin Buber, "are destinations of which the traveler is unaware." We are all travelers. We are fellow travelers in this universe. I have always felt that there is something timeless about Kol Ami. Souls meant to bump into each other in this lifetime find their way here. We each bring our struggles and our learning and our love, our unique souls. We have brought our courage and our openness and vulnerability, and with these we have built a community of joy and of holiness. I am a fellow traveler on this journey of life, learning from you and learning with you and sharing wisdom from our inherited traditions. There is so much more in this world than meets the eye. Those things that are most important to us, the things that make life worth living, are not quantifiable. A life of wonder, a life of connection, of love, of feeling that we are alive for a reason, of courage. These can't be measured, but we don't live well without them. Jewish wisdom and Jewish learning are endless, but the Torah teaches, don't let that stand in your way. We heard the Torah reading today. The teaching that I give you this day is not too overwhelming for you, nor is it beyond reach. It is not in the heavens that you should say, "Who among us can go up to the heavens and get it for us and impart it to us that we may observe it?" Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, "Who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us that we may observe it?" No, it is very close to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, and you can do it. No, it is not far away. It is so close. Our tradition has given us a roadmap, a guide through this universe. Judaism has given us a way to walk the path. Judaism comes to remind us that the mystery and the magnificence aren't only out there, they are here. Judaism comes to remind us that we can tap into it anytime we choose. Rituals, blessings, are the ways we tap into it. Rituals are only pathways, but they work if they are regular and dependable. Back in California, David used to begin each Shabbat by sitting at the piano and playing something. It was always the same melody. 40 years ago, we made the decision to move as a family to New York for me to attend rabbinical school. It was a decision that left us 2 weeks to pack up our entire household. 4 children born in this house, countless arguments, joys, struggles, triumphs, reconciliations in this home, but no time now for feelings and reminiscences. It was Friday, and the Hertz truck was filled. Only one thing was left in the house, the one thing that needed professional movers, the piano. Friday afternoon. David sat at the piano and played that same melody. And it was as if someone had tapped a shell, and it opened, and out burst all the tears, all the memories that had been stored inside, all the Fridays that David had played that same melody. Rituals are vessels to help experience the power of being alive. When you hear the sound of the shofar, you are with all the times in your life and with all the people with whom you have heard that sound. When you light Shabbat candles or the Hanukkah menorah, all the Fridays or Hanukkahs of past seasons glow in that light. The light of your parents or grandparents, your own light as a child, now reflected in the faces of your children, your friends, your nieces and nephews and their children. Rituals are pathways to help connect you through time with many lives. Rituals are pathways to help experience the blessing of being alive. I inherited these rituals and these blessings. The stories have taught me that the mystery of life is right here. I am sharing them with you in a manual I compiled called The Sevenfold Path, a Traveler's Guide to a Basic Jewish Practice. You are welcome to take one if you wish, one per household on your way out. It's in a loose leaf binder, in the hopes that you will add your own stories and your own experiences and rituals, ways that you have encountered the mysteries and the blessings of being alive. It is in your mouth and in your heart, and you can do it. A colleague of mine, rabbi of a small congregation, tells the story of a holiday season when he'd been wrestling with his sermon. It was the day before Yom Kippur, and it hadn't quite taken shape. And then came a tragic death in his congregation, and the funeral and the needs of the grieving family overrode everything. But Yom Kippur came anyway. In desperation, he combed through his files and found a sermon he had given when he first arrived in the congregation 10 years earlier. Who would remember? After services, one of his prominent members walked over to him and said, "Rabbi, I have been here since the day you came. For the past 10 years, I have come to every service and listened to every one of your sermons. And I want you to know, Rabbi, you have really matured." I want you to know that I have really matured. I have learned from you that a community of joy and of courage and honesty and vulnerability is not a mirage or a pipe dream. It is real and life-sustaining. We know that life matters, that each life matters, because we create a community where that is so. A community where we are celebrated in our triumphs, comforted in our sorrows, and missed when we are gone. We know that prayer opens the heart and speaks the language of the soul, because that is the world we have created. I remember standing on the porch of my parents' home in Jerusalem on a Saturday evening when David and our children, braided candle, spices, and wine for Havdalah, gathered together. As we curved our fingers toward the light of the Havdalah candle, one of my kids, they all deny it, said that there's a little bit of light and a lot of shadow, and that what faces us is the shadow. The shadow is mystery. So much of life remains unknown, magnificence and mystery. But we are also beings of light, pulsing with the love and energy out of which the universe was born. It is all God, the dark and the light, the night and the day. David and I have begun Havdalah with this melody since we were first together, then with our children, and now they with their children. Karev Yom, the time is approaching, which is neither day nor night. Only in twilight can an ordinary mortal walk in light and dark at once, writes Margaret Renkel. It is the glimpse into eternity, that bewildering notion of endless time where light and dark exist simultaneously. Ram, Ram Hoda, Ki Lacha Hayom, Af Lacha Halayla. It is all glory, for to you belong the day, and to you the night. Karev, Karev Yom, Asher Hu Lo Yom, Asher Hu Lo Yom, Velo Laila, Lo Laila, Karev, Karev, Karev Yom, Asher Hu Lo Yom. Day and night, we are part of all of it. Throughout this day, I hope we're together through the Havdalah of Yom Kippur. May it be a good day.